Hi, we're live here at Exodus Institute and we're very excited. We happen to have a very special guest here this afternoon. We are wonderful. We happen to have the 29th Ward Alderman, Mr. Telefero himself is here in person, and sorry about that little delay, trying to get these cameras set and doing different things, but we're so glad that you came out to be with us today and to share whatever it is that you would like to share.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and certainly appreciate being here today on a nice summer day. It's an honor and it's a blessing to be considered a special guest.
Okay.
And I just want to say it's also an honor to be here amongst folks that are doing great work in the community, helping us to thrive in the Austin community and on the west side of Chicago. So let me just say it's an honor, and I'm here to answer any questions and talk about public safety or any concerns that we may have in our community as well.
Okay.
We are always a growing community.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Since you mentioned that, I just wanted to show you a little picture that we happen to have. Can you zoom the camera in up on these pictures we happen to have here where it says Austin hosts the stop on the World Peace Run, and on here you see the Alderman Telefero there making his speech as he welcomed the peace runners from all over the world and had set up and allowed them to do a big thing. I think we were at the Hope Church, and Congressman Danny Davis received a Torchbearers Award that day. But yeah, there's a picture of you right there. And at that time, I think that was in 2018.
2018.
2018. And the Peace Runners run all over the world, all over every country and all of that, just to bring world peace. And this just happened to be one of the stops over here in the Austin area. And they placed peace trees out there. One represented Reverend Flowers, who happened to be he was the head of the West Side Ministers Coalition for a long time, where he did some wonderful things for the neighborhood. And the other tree that was placed out there was supposed to have been for W.L. Upshire, who happened to start the West Side Ministers Conference. So that's the only neighborhood, they had two trees placed in the Austin area in the same lot out there that happened to be Ed Bailey and Leo LaSpan's lot right there on Chicago Avenue in Mayfield. Yep. And we want to thank you for allowing us to block and to have all of those events out there, and we're going to have some more events and things. Now, if you were saying that you wanted to mention some things, would you like to thank the community for also voting for you? Because they did a nice job. I know you had to pass out a whole lot of Subway sandwiches and everything to get everybody to vote for you and everything, but it worked.
Yep.
Okay.
And elections are always very interesting. I certainly appreciate them because it's an opportunity for us to gauge our effectiveness. And I'm one of those type of people that believes in, when you are speaking with your community residents, they'll tell you whether you're doing a good job or whether you need some improvements. And a good leader takes those criticisms and they try to change their leadership to better affect and have a more effective community. And that's what I think this opportunity was for me. I had a close election, and I learned from it. I've learned that you have to be more active with my senior community and my youth community. And so I take this as a lesson learned from my constituents. Yes, I did win the election, and even in 2019. But it's an opportunity for me as an alderman because I am a public servant.
Right.
And have been a public servant since I was 17 years old. So it's an excellent opportunity for me to grow as a leader. I will never proclaim to be perfect. And so for me, it's an opportunity to look at the things I need to do better.
So
engaging in my community in the 29th Ward.
Since you mentioned that, especially with the seniors, is there anything in particular that you learned that the seniors need that you could elaborate upon right now that would help the seniors?
I think the biggest thing is communication. You know, oftentimes, you know, we get into the thought process that if you put something out on social media, whether it's on Facebook or any other social media outlet, that our seniors are getting that information.
Okay.
And that's not always true. You know, a lot of our seniors don't have Facebook page, or they don't have an Instagram account,
That's
or
right.
they're not on Twitter. And so we can't, or at least I'm not going to speak from a plurality. I'll speak as an alderman and as an individual. I can't assume that they're getting information, and that's valuable information about resources that may be available to them. And so that's what I'm doing better. And we've started a senior registry. We're having more senior events, and we're getting information out in a different style. Most of our seniors do have cell phone communication.
Right.
And so we're sending direct messages to them.
But you know, we have this, what the group that's now in these senior citizen buildings, and certain things are going on. Do you reach out to the senior citizen buildings, or how do you?
Yeah, and that's one thing I can say I've done well with, leading up to COVID, and then after COVID had subsided to some point. We have 8 senior residences within the 29th Ward, and I had a very consistent visitation with them, making sure they had resources. Even over the entire COVID period, we would take lunches over to our seniors. But that's just a small percentage of the seniors that are in my ward.
Okay.
We have 9,333 active voting seniors in my ward. And our senior population that are in senior residences are just a very small percentage of that larger number. And so that's the engagement where I have pledged to my seniors that I'll do better. In fact, I'm learning to line dance a little bit, because
Okay.
I've been going to the parks and hanging out with my seniors
All right.
that are doing line dances, that are engaging actively. But the most important thing that any alderman should do when they see their shortcomings is apologize.
Yes.
And I'm going to every single senior location I can to just say I am sorry.
Okay.
And they've been very receptive, because most folks that know me know that I'm a genuine person. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm going to accept the consequences of my actions. And I did not do well by my seniors.
Okay.
Or at least I should say I could have done better with my seniors. So I'm a growing leader.
All right.
Hopefully not just growing in size, but I'm a growing leader, and I take that with all sincerity. I've been in a leadership role since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And
Now,
I
you
can
know,
say I'm not always perfect with it.
the baby boomers are it's so many of them. They're living longer and going through all these different times, and it's like they're being forced with so many different programs. Their food stamps been cut and different. They're cutting them off of the Medicaid and all of these other things. And there's some senior programs that are out here that kind of can help some of those seniors get back active into the
Right.
job fair. Do you sit back and work or have programs similar to that to kind of help or assist seniors also?
Well, the city does have programs where they can help a senior that wants to go back and do some part-time work, and what my office can help provide is, whether there needs to be an opportunity to sharpen up a resume, or help our seniors that are looking for administrative work on a limited basis. As far as time, we consistently reach out to organizations that are within the 29th Ward to say, hey, just like our mayor has been very focused on hire youth,
Yes.
in my ward, we're very focused on also hiring a senior.
Okay.
Because there are some seniors that we've had that say, hey, I need to go back on a more part-time basis. So hopefully it's administrative role where I can help type or send emails or do administrative things around.
Yeah,
So
they-
whenever an opportunity comes up, I do promote that particular opportunity for a senior with
Yeah,
the business owner.
I heard some seniors calling in a moment ago when we were talking. I heard the phone. Could you?
Sister agencies. CPS is a sister agency. CHA, which is governed by a school, a board, is a sister agency. Public transportation, our CTA,
Okay.
CHA. All of these have their own operating boards. We call them our sister agencies. They're governed by boards, and they meet monthly. And so, I would join you. I would join you in helping to find out what this curriculum actually entails that's being promoted, and if CPS is in fact accepting it into their curriculum. I'd be happy to join you to get a better understanding of the why. Not just a better understanding of the why, but a better understanding of what is being promoted in our school system, what is being promoted in our classroom, and then why is it being promoted in our classroom, and then what involvement and what engagements is the LSC and our parents, to what level do they have input as to what's being taught, how it's being taught, and why it's being taught. And that's what the school board can answer for us. So I look forward to joining you. I will read this, and and I won't wait until tomorrow to read it, because it's probably one of the biggest things I've heard in a long time with this being promoted in the school system. Yeah.
Well, there are some groups out here that's actually promoting all of this thing because of the times that we happen to be living in.
Right, and I can understand that. I can understand.
So that's
yeah.
why it's being pushed, and different things that's going on up on that. We won't
Right.
elaborate up on that on this program.
Okay.
Because it's something very important, because we're getting ready to go into the summer.
Yes, we are.
And they've already started targeting and building these different police groups and different things up in the neighborhoods, well, especially in the downtown area. But if those young people, the way that they can come together and congregate and do certain things, if those young people had jobs, for the summer to sit back and do things constructively, to do certain things, did you or your organization, did you receive some of those summer jobs for the youth? And how can they get involved if you did?
No, as an alderman, we only have a program where it's a summer internship program, where each alderman is allowed to hire one person that's either in college or in law school. However, the majority of the jobs that are facilitated by the city is through the One Summer Chicago program. In the past, we have been able to hire over the summer months. We've been able to hire each year 25, 30. I believe Mayor Rahm Emanuel in his past administration even had a level of about 38,000 youth that were being employed.
Okay.
And then Mayor Lightfoot continued One Summer Chicago, and quite a few youth were still being employed. And that's 16 to, I believe, 24.
Okay.
And there's opportunities as well for 15, 14, and 13. However, those numbers the opportunities are even less. But through After School Matters and other organizations, they can employ, I believe, even down to 13 years old. This year, we had about, I believe, 24,000 jobs that were slated for One Summer Chicago. And with Mayor Johnson's election, I believe Mayor Johnson has increased that number and commitment. But what I'm very supportive of on Mayor Johnson's his vision and his goal is to not just make them summer jobs.
Okay.
And so he has called out to our business owners to do year-round hiring.
Okay.
And not to just make these summer jobs and these opportunities available for our youth community, but to make them year-round opportunities that are available. And so he brings a new approach to public safety. He brings a new approach to violence, on violence reduction. And that is, if we can hire, and along with other things that the mayor has put forth in his vision, if we can hire youth on a year-round basis, we take that youth off the street.
That's right.
And many of those youth are not out there committing crimes. But certainly when a youth is out on the street, the opportunity of him being harmed or her being harmed increases as well. And so through One Summer Chicago, we have quite a few opportunities. In fact, I was speaking to a gentleman about the opportunities here at the Exquisites Institute.
That was Mr. Altman.
And he did inform me that that One Summer Chicago will be having youth coming here as well. And so that's what the program is designed to help, especially over the summer months, our youth to be employed. But I can see our mayor is very much committed, as he spoke yesterday at the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, to have these commitments extend beyond the summer.
And we hope, because he came here before he ran for mayor, he was over here, he know what we do over here, and I hope he come back and assist us even further. But there's a bunch of youth that's may not be qualified for college, and they may need some trades and certain things. We don't seem to have anybody doing the electrician, carpentry, and plumbing, and different things in our neighborhoods. There's no trade schools over here, and is there any in your ward?
No, we don't have any trade schools.
Okay, that's what I mean, and
Yeah.
we really need to start doing that to get our youth, young men and young women involved in that area, because it's a job program that really needs to be, and I'd like to get it over here if we possibly could. And that's basically some area that needs to be looked at. Because our youth, like I said, all of them are not qualified for college, and they need to have some trade skills behind them to keep them up on what's going on and what's happening in this world. You know, and we're so glad that you came out to sit back and be with us up on this. There's some spiritual things that's going on in the world and everything. Chicago this year is going to have the Parliament of Religions coming to Chicago August the 13th through the 19th. Every religion in the world will be in Chicago at this convention, at the Parliament of Religions. And we're going to be passing a peace torch, because Chicago is a big city, and we need to have some peace and different things. Everybody around the world actually wants peace, but we don't share it and don't know how to actually bring it about. But that's what we did over here, because when we did that peace run on this, and you were out there and you were a part of it, I'm going to show you those children carrying the flags of all those pieces of people from around the world, their flags they were carrying that day.
I remember that very clearly.
I'm going to give you this. This is the celebration of the Parliament of World Religions peace event. This is a pre-event. It's on the Saturday of the Bud Billiken, but it's after the Bud Billiken, because this is going to start at 2 o'clock. The Bud Billiken will start at 10 that morning, and maybe you could come and share some of the moments there with us after the Bud Billiken. I know you're probably going to be out there that day marching in the parade or riding on a float or whatever the case is, and that's going to be with the World Peace Run. So you've gotten a lot of information today. I was trying to see if Reverend Harris was going to make it, because he's the one that invited you out here today. And if you want to take another question, or?
No, yeah, I have time.
He's got time. Anybody want to give a question?
I have one question.
Yes.
About the funding of the police officers, I believe we have a major problem. As you said, the youth, I think that seniors are good, but I usually, if we lose our seed, especially the black male seeds, do we have a program where we can go in there in junior high? Because I'm at all these community meetings, basically, out here. And I'm hearing the police, the park coming. We just can't find any good men. We can't find anybody to work there. All in the public school system. When I was in the school system, there was office occupation in Farragut High School, Mason on the west side of Chicago. They put us in an office occupation. In your freshman year, they taught you how to type, sophomore, junior, and they gave you a job. And that was, the people are living that and retiring from those positions. They cut all of that out in the black community. So how can we bring justice? You want peace in the city of Chicago? Let's get some equity. Let's get some justice here. I have a problem with, in my community for years, about 10 years, I'm seeing people cannot even speak English with hats, but they just brought them over the day before yesterday. They're working, but my black boys are not working, and they came up through the public school system, which is one of the worst ones in the world, the CPS. How can we get some justice for my black boys? They are not being hired out there. I see everybody, folks can't speak English, speak English. And they're out there, but my children, my black sons, who were raised here, we watching the Tell-A-Lie television, Tell-A-Lie television, 2975, and they exploiting my black boys and got them holding their pants up and running down the street like we have to get to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is gross mass injustice. The same system that had us hanging by nooses from the tree, we went to that system and it has destroyed and killed our children. What are we going to do to bring some justice to the black male seed and apologize for having dropped the ball on him and let him go? What are we going to do about that?
Thank you.
And, I think it's a very complex question, because it really involves a wide variety of things, especially if you're looking at equity in education, equity in jobs, whether it's social, racial equity. It's been a complex issue for generations, and it's still right. Well, it's not necessarily just people in office either. This is an issue that shouldn't just hang on the doorsteps of politicians. This is an issue that should hang on the doorsteps of your next door neighbor.
And the church.
And the church and the business community too. Because you walk in the door of a business trying to seek a job, not in all cases, but in some cases. And you're judged already by the color of your skin.
Yes.
There's oftentimes you're judged by your name.
Yes.
Prime example, my name. The Sun-Times reported in 2015 that we have another Italian alderman.
Yes.
I'm not Italian, but my name, they thought I was Italian. So we're often judged before we even walk in the door. So it's difficult just to hang that on the doorstep of the politicians. It's all of our responsibility to help continue to address racial inequities, social inequities, educational inequities, and it is. And we have spent decades and decades trying to figure out how to do it. Money's not going to do it all by itself, although it can be a contributing factor of progress. It's not going to do it all by itself. So we have to challenge a whole lot of things and continue to challenge a whole lot of things. Even our politicians, our business owners, our neighbors. And that's how we start to address inequities on a more solid level, to whereby we can actually see some improvements. But until that happens, I think it's incumbent upon politicians to make sure these resources are reaching the most underserved neighborhoods, whether that's a black neighborhood or Latino neighborhood. We do have to say that as well, but particularly in our black neighborhoods. So yes, to some degree it is on the doorstep, because until we act as a whole, elected officials have to make sure that we're fighting for resources. See, we'll get a piece of the pie, but there's a much bigger pie than what we're seeing and what we're getting. And you're absolutely right that when you take away mental health clinics, or when you take away schools like they did in 2013 and close 12 mental health clinics, you're setting the community up for failure. or when you take away trade schools,
Yes,
you are setting that community up for failure.
right.
And that's what we've done. We've done all three in the city of Chicago. Now, it's always good to have someone committed to reversing the wrong. And so if you have someone that's committed to reversing the wrong, and is beyond a political speech or beyond a campaign speech, that say, I'm going to do my best to replace mental health clinics. I'm going to do my best to make sure that we are providing better education and not closing any more schools. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that we have trade schools. Then you start to see hope for a better community. And that's why we vote. That's why we vote. We vote on that person that we believe, until we can come together as a whole. We vote on that person that we believe that can most affect our lives. And in the black community, it's these things. And I'll be very upfront with folks. And I know this is going out across the city if necessary. In 2015 through 2019, Mayor Rahm Emanuel didn't give me a thing. As much as I asked for development in my ward, because of our relationship, I couldn't get a thing. In fact, when my residents even wanted a black cart, I had to go pay for them, rather than the city saying, we're gonna bring you 15 carts over there, 50 or 60 carts. We just had to start buying them because I didn't have a great relationship with Mayor Emanuel. Now, that helped me to understand and learn what politics means. For a long time, I had said, I'm not a politician. And then I realized I had to be a politician. Politician is just one simple thing. A politician is what we do more than what we are. A person that's a politician is a person that does build relationships, does this, go to meetings, go to events. Why does he do it? To help bring resources to his community. That's what politics is. Politics is the actions that you take to bring resources in your community. I had to learn that. So when you're not building a relationship with the top man, the mayor, what are you going to bring to your community? If you're not going out to these union gatherings, how many union jobs or apprenticeships can you get? Because they don't know you. If you're not going to these events, they're golf outings, who's going to know who you are? And how can you bring that resource to your community if they don't know who you are? So politics is just simply the things that we do to bring resources back to our people and the people that we represent. So I had to learn to be a politician. And that's what politics is. So what that meant moving forward is, even though I didn't support Mayor Lori Lightfoot in her election, I had to learn to be a politician with Mayor Lightfoot and to build a relationship with Mayor Lightfoot. And we had no trouble bringing resources to the ward. Over $250 million in economic development alone in the last 4 years.
All right.
I get garbage carts in my office now because I built relationships that are waiting to just go out. We're waiting for people to call us now. Hey, Alderman, I need a black cart. I could get you one over there today.
What's a black card?
Oh, that's where we put our trash into.
The garbage can.
Yeah, they're called carts. The blue ones are still hard to get. But that's because over the last 4 years, I've learned to build, it's different when the mayor calls you and say, what do you need? To not get that phone call at home. Because your thing is saying, I'm not a politician, is actually reaping exactly what it is, nothing. So I say it, and just to really sum up, we could address these things.
Okay.
But from the perspective of until we do as a community, until we do as a whole, until white folks realize that because of their ills of the past, we're still suffering. And because black folks realize just because I'm suffering don't mean that I have to hurt someone else. until we realize these things on our own, it's on our politicians to make sure and to help us bring those resources to the community. And in order to get those resources, that's why I went there, you have to learn to be a politician. And you have to learn what politics really means. So I stopped saying to folks, I'm not a politician. Because if I'm not a politician, I'm not going to get you what you need.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I heard the Democratic Party, they said basically that whole party voted for the comprehensive sex pedophilia reform that's going into the school system. So we're gonna have to be careful with, and they don't even know they voted for it because they put it under the Equality Act and title whatever.
And it's 800 pages?
Yeah, so they squeeze that pedophilia in there, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
So let's give some numbers. Let's give some numbers, phone numbers, and when you have your ward meeting, it used to be on Monday
Yeah,
night. Is it still?
my office number is 773-837-39. That's my cell number.
Don't. No, look, yeah, she want that.
But here's the interesting thing. I do give my cell number to all my constituents that ask for it. I carry one phone with me, and that's this. And any one, I got thousands of people from my ward that has this number. Now, I tell them all, if you call me, no, they can call me, but I won't answer because I get a ton of calls. So I always tell people, text me. Text me because I read my text several times throughout the day. I could be having this meeting right here and read a text, and I can know to call you back. So I give my number out to anybody in my ward that wants it. I just tell them, text me if you need me. I'll call you back as soon as I'm available, and I do call back. But I tell them, don't text me after midnight either, because I go to bed every night at midnight, every night without fail. As soon as that clock hit 1200, I go to sleep and I'll read your text the next morning. But my office number is 773-237-6460. I have ward night every Monday night. That's where you come in and sit down with me one-on-one. Every Monday from 5 o'clock until the last person leaves, usually about 8:30, 8:45. And I have my community meetings the first Wednesday of every month at Columbus Park Refectory, and the third Wednesday of every month at Rutherford Sayre Park. And we're looking to add 2 more locations, 6 o'clock until 7:30.
At both parks?
Yeah, that's usually when the park kicks us out. And so we're looking to add Amundsen Park as well as not Michelle Clark High School, but George Rogers Clark High School as well in a monthly rotation.
I got a question on the outgoing mayor, Mayor Willie Wrighton, had got a federal grant over $60 million for the homeless. What is going to be done with that money that's still sitting there?
I was not aware that we received $60 million from the federal government. I do know that we were seeking assistance from the state as well as the federal government. I believe the state did give us $30 million that has not been used at this point, and it has not been accepted by the city. From what I understand, it's still in the state account, whichever depository that might be. But I was not aware of $60 million.
Okay, could you find out about it?
I'm more than happy to.
Grant.
Yeah, and that federal grant, if it's something beyond the scope of the impact of the immigrants that have come from our southern borders, so this is something completely different.
It's not for the immigrants.
Yep. So I'll have to look into that one.
And so with that, we want to thank you for coming out here and
You're
joining
more than
us.
welcome.
Please give him a round of applause. But we want to elaborate upon some things because we got some block club presidents here or representatives, and we want to know and find out what's going on with that because that COVID kind of messed up all of those meetings, so could you elaborate upon the block clubs?
You know, in the 29th Ward, and perhaps throughout even the city, a lot of our block clubs leading up to COVID were very active. And because of COVID, a lot of the meetings stopped. And in fact, last year was the first time that, and last summer was the first time that our block parties started coming back. And so a lot of our block clubs have become more active now. And one of the things that we have done in the 29th Ward, all the way up through COVID, we started a program with our block club representatives, which most people call block captains. Okay. And so we call them block representatives, where we gave them an ID that said that they were block representatives. We would have meetings with them frequently, and we made sure they had a direct number that they could call if they needed anything, rather than calling a general ward office number, or rather than sending an email. We provided them with direct access to me.
You know, there was also, there used to be a funding, I think it was like $2,500 that they would give.
They still do that.
They still do that with the block clubs. And is that to beautify, or just what is the?
And the purpose of it is to promote the growth of the block and promote the well-being of the block club. And so some folks use it to as a source of helping have a block party for that year. But they also will use it to beautify the block. I noticed some have used the sign to put up, this is the 5300 West XYZ Block Club, a sign at the end of the blocks. So they could use it for any purposes that promotes the well-being of the block and the block club. And I think one of the best things we did with our block club representatives, we started a program called Lawn Talks that worked in conjunction with that. So if you're a block club captain or block captain, you could call that number that we gave you, say, hey, Alderman, let's do a lawn talk this weekend, or let's do a lawn talk Wednesday or Thursday. And what I would do, like right now, I have a lawn chair that I keep in my car. I could raise my trunk and you'll see it in there. And what I do is I bring my lawn chair and we sit out on the block.
A few cold ones.
And we talk about what's going on. Yeah, and sometimes we have some good food.
All right.
But we also have some good spirits. And so,
all right,
we have a good time. But the most important thing about that is it allows our blocks to come together. So our block captain, let's say we have block captain Jane. Jane will say, hey, Alderman, let's do a lawn talk Wednesday. I just say, what address do I need to be at? What time are we having it? And I go out there with my lawn chair. Sometimes it's in the backyard, sometimes it's in the front yard. But we sit out there and talk about what things affect that particular block.
Well, we want to get those block clubs to come back here to Mid-Austin, because we wanted to be able to cover the whole community over here in the area. And I forgot exactly how Mid-Austin used to have it, but we would have each of those block clubs come in once a month, and whatever was going on in the neighborhood and the community, we needed to have all the block clubs here, or at least a representative to come out from that block, so that we could all be on one accord. And
that's a great idea.
That's the way it used to be done here at Mid-Austin, but after Mid-Austin closed down, Exodus, we've been trying, and I think we're about to get it started once again.
Yeah, and I would say even look at implementing that Lawn Talks program. We started it again last year, and certainly we're doing it again this summer. But as you talk to your block clubs, your block club leaders, block captains, talk about implementing that program. I found it to be pretty effective. And that's something that you could work with your alderman. And we called it the Lawn Talks program, but it could be called anything. We just enjoyed coming out and talking on the lawn. And, sometimes it was, hey, we sitting on the porch and talk. So it gives you an opportunity to let the alderman know. And sometimes you can invite the police commander to let them know this is what's going on my block. If you got a problem with people hanging out on your block, that's the best thing to do.
Do you have any questions for the alderman?
We just
our block party is coming up on the 24th of June, and the 800 and 900 patrol, our blocks are combined. So this is my first time being, vice president of the block club party, because the president last
Got
year
shot.
got shot in the head, and he's not doing good now. So I asked the old president, vice president, to come help me, because I didn't know anything about doing a block club party. But our blocks are our community, and we all communicate with everybody on our blocks, the elderly, the young, and if anything on our blocks that, like now, we got to have a block club meeting for our block before the block club. So that's why I was
And
trying to get it to Jerome.
Do you guys have a phone tree?
No, we don't, no.
Okay.
So-
Block parties are great. They're great. You're celebrating. You're celebrating your block. You're celebrating each other. The important thing that happens after the party and before the party, start a phone tree on the block with your residents. And like I have some of one of the things I recommend to my blocks that are having problems, I get on that phone tree also. So when something's happening on that block, like for example, the 5900 block of Ohio, that's the first block I did it with. I was on that phone tree, so I knew exactly when something was happening. Right now, I have it with 5500 Quincy. When something was happening on 5500 Quincy, I was a part of that conversation. And we were able to move those folks off of Quincy. I'm on it with the 5200 block of Quincy now. So start phone trees. And then, talk to your elected representatives to say, hey, we'd love for you to join this phone tree.
And he also mentioned the police department. And the police department, he said the CAPS, was it the CAPS unit that you would get?
Yeah, yeah.
They'll be at ours, because as well as we have the block club party for 800 is put the guns down and stop the violence. So we got artists coming down. So
Good.
It's
Register, and also talk to them about registering their block with the district.
Okay.
Whether that's the 11th district or the 15th district, talk to them about registering their blocks with the alderman's office as well as with the police districts.
I think you got some great information there.
Yes, I do.
Now, don't shoot no dice with that money that y'all gonna get. Oh, okay.
We gonna get book bags and
Oh, okay, all right.
food for the, for they come, and I told them I think it's nice, because I didn't know. I had to ask this lady, to come help me, because I didn't know nothing about. I was looking, doing stuff.
And that gentleman that was the president on that block, he was also helping to reorganize all of the block clubs back together again before he got
And that's all we're
shot.
talking about. We're block club.
Wow.
Okay, so we want to thank you once again.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Give them a round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Oh. Hi, we're back here at Exodus Institute, 816 North Laramie. It's a beautiful day. We've had one session, and I'm about to introduce to you all a brother here, a young man that's out here doing some wonderful things in the neighborhood, in the community, and the city. And this is Joe. And Joe is bringing his own, he's going to come to you in his own way with his own product, I guess. That's Ujima products. And so go ahead, talk right into that camera and let the people know what you do.
For sure. I'm soft-spoken, so we got a live audience. Let me know if y'all can't hear me. My name is Joe, or Joey, whichever comes first. I'm the training coordinator at Ujima Medics. Ujima is a Kiswahili word or phrase that means collective work and responsibility in English, okay? As Ujima Medics, we try to take that principle and apply it to all the violences, the emergencies that are prevalent in Black neighborhoods. So specifically, we think about seizures, asthma, right? We have higher levels of asthma in Black neighborhoods, especially in the city of Chicago. But I think one of our more popular training topics is how to respond to a gunshot wound. So what to do when a person has been shot. We do trainings on this all over the city. We've gone across the country. We do some different other training styles online. So really wherever you want the knowledge, we can make it happen there for you. We've been to a few different churches, right? We've been in church attics, street corners. We've done these trainings in bars, parking lots, in the dead of winter and the heat of summer. It really doesn't matter.
So you actually getting it out. This is one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
And that is so wonderful what you seem to be bringing, because that's a traumatic thing that happens in our neighborhood, that gunshot. But you did mention some things about people have asthma attacks, they have diabetic attacks or whatever, seizures.
Right.
All of those, you cover all of those things too?
All of those and some more. We train folks on how to do what we call asthma community care, how to respond to somebody that's having a seizure, how to do community care for somebody who is experiencing some diabetic challenges, right? So we talked about those, but we also talk about how to keep yourself safe at a protest, right? What to do if you're in a large crowd and you feel unsafe. We train folks in what we call community safety planning, right? So I heard we talked a little bit about block clubs earlier, right? So we train folks on how to just organize maybe your block, right? Your group of friends on how to be safe if we see an emergency happen.
So, we're sitting back now, we got all of these things, because you said something where the youth come together and they're in these big crowds, and they're not rioting, but they're together and they're dancing on the streets, they're dancing on the buses, right, and in front of cars and everything, and somebody has a heart attack.
Right.
Do you all do the CPR training? Also, you're certified to do the CPR training to sit back and help?
So we do the free CPR trainings, right? But we also can certify you in CPR. So
perfect.
Yeah, we're pretty well rounded. We really do try to address all of the violences that are particular to our neighborhoods.
So tell the people how they can get in contact with you through emails or cell phones, or come by the office, or whatever, how?
Sure. So we do have an office. We're headquartered at 601 South California, Harris Center, California, at the Westside Justice Center. So we have an office there. Come through anytime. I'm probably going to be there. But we also have an Instagram and a Facebook account at UMedicsChi. That's UMEDICSCHI. There you can see us posting some of the things that we're up to, right? If we have upcoming events that we're going to activate at, you can catch some of those. Just current news with the organization. That's probably going to be the easiest way to see what we're up to and how to get in contact with us. But, if we meet, you can get my email, my number, and I'll give you my contact information personally. Let's get together and do some good work.
Now, you even sat back and you said you come out to churches, block clubs. You even said you were in the lounge.
Man.
Wherever it takes. But we want to invite you to come back over here, because we do have a lot of youth over here too. And the young people, they need to have some of this training. And plus, we have a senior group. They need the training. Is there a particular age the senior group is okay to be trained, or?
Man, one of my favorite things to say is that we train anybody from 4 to 84. It really doesn't matter. I have a god sister that learned how to do gunshot wound first response at 3 years old. My little brother was helping me train these trainings at 8 and 9. So wow. It really doesn't matter. As long as you can, take in information. If you can learn your ABCs, you can learn how to save me, for sure.
And so you can give them a certification upon all of these different trainings. Will they get a certificate, or?
Yeah, so we'll give you a certificate. As it stands, we're not state funded. There's reasons, right? I could dig deeper into it, but We're not state funded, state ran, right, state governed, so we'll give you a certificate, but it's really a certificate of our appreciation for you coming out and wanting to get that knowledge. Now, specifically with the Gunshot Wound First Response Workshop, that certificate is going to be your ticket to what we call our advanced gunshot wound first response workshop, right? So any of the trainings that have like a part 2 to them, you can take that certificate and that'll be your ticket into that class. And if we're thinking specifically about the advanced gunshot wound workshop, we go deeper into how to use specialized tools like impregnated gauze, specialized techniques like packing wounds to address a person that's been shot.
I wish we could have got that information out when we had the politicians here, because a lot of politicians, they're not aware of what you're doing and different things. A lot of times churches and different religions, they'll know, and because you can go in and do that. But politicians seem to be a little bit more busy. So even if you get a chance to contact, the mayor really need to hear you speak about this, and so that he can get some of these things to each of the aldermen, because we really need it, especially the way that it's going on the west side and south sides of Chicago.
I agree. The thing is, right, we are what we call a mutual aid organization, right? So we know the term charity, right? That's usually a collective or organization that takes money from those who have it and gives it to those that don't, right? It could be money, it could be food, right? It could be clothes, right? However, a mutual aid organization is one that pools together resources from the underserved folks to get those resources to the folks in that collective, in that community that need it the most, okay? So I guess in essence, we are as Ujima medics kind of filling in the gaps where the mayor or where the government, state-funded kind of collectives and organizations are not filling in, right?
Wow.
So we started this organization because a friend of mine, a great young leader out here in the city of Chicago, Damian Turner, was shot less than 5 minutes away from the University of Chicago. Fearless Leading by the Youth was an organization that he co-founded. Eventually, got that level 1 trauma center put in to the University of Chicago Hospital, right? But they at the time did not have a level 1 trauma center. So the ambulance took Damien 45 minutes up to Northwestern. He died on the way to the hospital, right? But that was just like a real shaker, right? A bell ringer that let us know that these systems aren't built to save us, right? At the time, we had no trauma centers on Chicago's South Side, right? As it stands, the University of Chicago is the only level 1 trauma center that can handle the cases that we see on the South Side, right? They can't go to Roseland, right? They can't go to the Jackson Park Hospital, right? Oftentimes we get shipped up to Stroger, out to Christ, right? But we don't have the infrastructure set up to handle the problems that we see.
I remember there was a gentleman when I came up, Richard Pryor. He had a thing that he did where the guy got shot, and they said, call an ambulance. He said, no, man, call me a cab. And what you all are doing, even before the cab gets there, you're right there to sit back and assist and to do some things to help the patient or the person that's already, it didn't happen to them, let's do something about it.
Right.
That's a very quick responders. How did you get the training to cover all of these?
So similar, I guess, to my little brother and my the folks that I kind of mentioned earlier. I've been in the streets doing community work since I could walk a mile. So this information has always been something that's been around me, right? That I've been striving to know. I grew up on 79th and Honorary. I'm sure y'all know where that is.
79. Just say 79, man. We got you.
Right. But I mean, particularly like Auburn Gresham, for a long time was the 3rd most deadly neighborhood in the city of Chicago. Right. It was Austin, It was Inglewood, and then it was us. So I grew up having to see a lot of change that needed to be made, to say the least. Okay. So what that did for me is it just really inspired me to go out and seek that knowledge. On top of that, my mother helped co-found this organization along with my godparent, and so they did a lot of work to help me, right, get the proper training and just really talk to the right people, be in the right spaces to get the right knowledge that I needed to be able to carry this kind of work forward.
So you didn't go to no college to get any of this training or anything? Or?
I went to nursing school for a bit, but I have had several runs of medical professional aligned coursework. I could shout them out, but it'd be like free advertisement for those folks.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a wilderness EMT. I could be certified, state certified if I wanted. A lot of survival training, a lot of trauma, urban response training, taught by a lot of the folks that train even the Chicago police on how to do their trauma response.
It sounds like the divine world, the supreme being has blessed you to carry forth this work, because we're at a time that's, it's like you said, there was no hospital to take him to. The trauma centers are too far away. There's too much going on in the community, and the ambulance, matter of fact, the ambulance may come from 15 or 10 miles away to try to come and get to you before they even start some things.
Not to mention, might sit on the street corner around the corner and wait 15 more minutes.
And wait another 15 minutes until they get the crowd down or something. But what you have is a blessing, and it's really made me open my eyes to some things. And I want to be more around you and support you upon this, because I think we would train more young men just to be like you, to think like you. Wherever you came from or however you were trained or blessed, I do believe the divine world has laid their hands on you.
I appreciate that.
And hopefully, do we have any questions from the audience?
So your trauma ministry, do you all ride in an ambulance with the people all over the hospital?
No, we don't. So what the way that we train folks is in the spirit of Ujima, that collective work and responsibility, right? We know that we are just your neighbors, right? We're just humans. I have a 9-to-5 job every day that isn't necessarily rescuing folks, right? So we can't necessarily carry that responsibility, right? Or we'd be overburdening on ourselves to carry that responsibility. But we tell folks, right, and in that vein, Ujima Medics doesn't have ambulances stationed, right? We're not jumping into a minivan to ride out to emergencies because folks call us, right? So we can in certain instances, but we don't.
People do call you to come to the crisis?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
We're not first response organization.
Okay.
Mostly the knowledge sharing, the mutual aid, right? But we do like aftercare, right? Folks call us, right? Have those conversations about that, what that was like, right? What it feels like to have to respond, what it might have felt like to have to be hurt, right? What it might have felt like to have to see somebody be hurt or to see somebody respond in that manner. So yeah, we try to hold that kind of space for folks, definitely.
Well, we want to also give you a round of applause for just what you do, not just for coming out here, but by you being. I mean, this is very important in our neighborhoods and communities. Can we give him a round of applause for just sitting back, being a young man, and you and the brothers that came up with this idea? It is something that is very necessary.
Ladies.
do you all have like first aid kits in
So-
your cars and stuff like that?
Yeah, but I gotta correct you. I'm sorry. It was the ladies. My mother and my godmother,
Oh,
was really
okay.
more like my aunt, kind of came up with this, and really it's all of their wisdom, right? Their experience in doing this kind of work, right? And their widespread influence, honestly, in the work that they do, that has inspired me and made space for people like me, youth, to be able to fit into these spaces.
How humble was that to sit back and give the real recognition to the mothers
For
and
sure.
to give that to them? You know, you're an honorable young man to sit back here, and I take my hat off to you for what you're doing. You know, I'm gonna connect you with one of the elders over here in our program. Reverend Harris is sitting out here in the audience.
Okay.
And I'd like for you to connect with him because he does a thing with the youth where he sit back and teach and train them in certain areas. But your personality and your character and your inspiration of how you carry yourself, I'd like for him to be and associate with you so that we can get some things going.
Let's
even
do
further.
that, man. Let's do
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe here with you, Jamal. Give him a round of applause.